We're interviewing Aryaman, and he has been doing fantastic things in his community and in his world. And not only has he been doing this for, I don't know, a few years, but he is continually starting new projects. It's incredible. So, Aryaman, thank you so much for being here with us today. We are so grateful to be speaking with you.
Thank you so much for having me.
And let's get started. So I didn't want to tell everybody too much about what you do. So could you introduce yourself and tell us some of the projects that you've done in your past and you are currently doing now?
Sure. So my name is Aryaman. I'm now a junior studying computer science at Princeton. And what I'm really passionate about is using technology to make meaningful change in my community. And this is something that I think a lot of youth in our day and age are really passionate about. And I think that's the greatest thing. So some of the projects I've worked on in the past have all really involved technology and how they can be used to create change in communities. The biggest project I think I've worked on is called Get to Greater. So Get to Greater is actually a system of tablets, an app, and a central server that allows people in rural areas of developing countries to get quicker and easier access to healthcare. So as you guys might know, there's in rural areas, especially in developing countries, there are far fewer doctors than there are patients that need to be treated. And a large part of this is because people don't know exactly when they should see a doctor, when they have a critical condition that needs to be seen by a doctor, and when they can just make some lifestyle changes that might help them in their health. So Get to Greater is an app that allows people who aren't medically trained to be able to put in some basic diagnostic information into an app and get a diagnosis about whether they have malnutrition or hypertension, and more specifically, whether they need to see a doctor. And this has reduced the amount of time it takes to see a doctor from 2 weeks on average to around 2 or 3 days, which has resulted in way more people getting access to medical help.
That's incredible. And I watched your TED Talk and you talked about this a little bit. So I believe, if I'm correct, that you were in high school. Was it high school? And you had this prompt, and then that's what started this project to develop this app?
Yeah, so I was actually in 10th grade in my human geography class, and human geography is all about, different people across the world and understanding how different people interact and how they live. And one of our prompts was to create a solution that would actually benefit people and present it to the class. And, this was a theoretical activity for the class, but I was really passionate about my idea, and I decided I wanted to do whatever I could to get it and into a real product that could actually be used.
So you took a high school prompt that was theoretical and you came up with this whole plan, and then you actually took that a step further and developed the app and created it.
Exactly. Yeah. And I think, that was a great prompt for me because it forced me to think about the real world. And I think that's one thing I would suggest for all, young people is the real world is out there. And just because you're young doesn't mean you can't make a difference in it.
Yeah, that's actually my next question was going to be, why do you believe that children, teens, young adults are so well equipped to bring positive change to the world? And what would you say to kids who think that they're too young? Or I hear this a lot. They're like, oh, I want to do this, but I'm too young. I'll have to do it a little bit later.
First, I want to say you're not alone, right? I was definitely in the same exact boat when I was in high school. I didn't think that there was any way a kid, right, could make any difference. But the real fact is young people think differently. They look at problems differently, and they have a really intuitive sense of technology that allows them to actually make solutions that are often better than what adults can think of, because we're so in tune with the technology, so in tune with trends that are going on around us, that we can make real impactful change. And I think the easiest way to see that is just to see what young people have done with social media over the past 3 or 4 months. There have been incredible social movements started, led, and managed completely by young people, completely virtually. And that's something that only young people could have done, and only young people are still doing.
Yes, I agree with you so much. And I'm just, it's so wonderful to hear from you. My next question, I have some quotes from you from your websites, and I want to read them properly. So you say the responsibility for change falls on us, and we must be prepared to accept it. We can all make a difference. And you also say only together can we make a difference. And I'm just curious, like with all the division in the world, with all the turmoil right now, what do you do to stay focused and grounded?
I think for me, it's all about looking at the end goal. I think there's a tremendous amount of division in the world. Partisanship is at its highest it's ever been. You're completely right there. But at the end of the day, everyone is looking for a better future, right? And I think the fact that we all have that same goal and the fact there are so many people who are actively working towards that goal means that there's always someone that is going to be willing to work with you, is going to be willing to put the time and effort in to help you and help the world be a better place. And I think just remembering that there are people like that and even talking to people like that always gives me hope. It always reminds me that, there's a lot that divides us, but so much more that unites us.
That unity. Yeah. And for a kid who is like, oh my gosh, I have this amazing idea and I know a solution for it. And I see this problem in the community and I know how I can fix it. What would you say to them as advice for like first steps and how to really take that idea or that solution and roll with it and get it going?
I would say the first and most important step is just to start. I think so many ideas get lost in just they never get started, right? You have a great idea, you thought about it, and it kind of dies after a few days because you never started. I think that the most important piece of advice, if there's one takeaway, is you got to start. The second thing I would say is ask for help. Just because you're young doesn't mean old people will not take you into account, will not listen to you. And most importantly, it doesn't mean they're not going to help you. I think for me, anytime I was starting a project, the first thing I did was reached out to whoever I found from the internet, from universities around me, just sent them an email or like rang them up and said, hey, this is something I want to do. This is what I know you do. Can you help me do this? And a lot of people said yes. I was really surprised. I think that was the most surprising thing for me is how many people were willing to stop, take some time out of their day and just help out a random kid who was looking to make a difference.
And that falls into my next question. Who has helped you along the way? And I'm assuming that you haven't done this all by yourself.
Yes, no, definitely not. I think it's completely, everything I've done has been a team effort. And one of the people who has been with me and worked with me since day one was, his name is Big Mike. He was a professor at Penn State Lehigh Valley, which is a university real close to me. And I sent him essentially a cold email. I saw him talk at a conference and sent him a cold email afterward and said, hey, what you said was really interesting. I'm passionate about making a difference. Can we just talk? And actually, he invited me to his office. He talked to me. He listened to my ideas. And actually, through him is how I got my first funding to start Get to Greater. And without him, it wouldn't have been possible. And that's just one example. There were so many other people who were there for me and helped me throughout the process. And I couldn't be more thankful for them having been there.
And you've done a TEDx. When did you do your TEDx? How old were you?
So I was 17 when I did the talk. Yes, I think.
Cool. And in it, you mentioned a passion for learning, which is something I study so much of, especially with the school system. And you have emphasis on that, on the passion for learning, and also less emphasis on test taking results. And you have a very simple yet complex method to help schools, which is collaboration, application, independent study, and mentorship. And I just loved your talk. It was incredible. So be sure to go watch it if you haven't already, anybody watching. But how do we get that started? How do we start implementing this in schools? How do we get this information to teachers or to parents? What do you see as the next step to get this widely known in the school system?
Yeah, I think the good part is it's already kind of in motion, right? Schools are already starting to see that the jobs of the future, the work that needs to be done in our world will require a different type of education than we've been used to for a long time. So that's the good news. The good news is people are getting it. We're already moving there. Honestly, the best way for students to to kind of take these principles to their schools is to start living by them, right? When you have a project that has a potential real world application, talk to your teacher about it. Say, hey, this is something I'm really passionate about. What else can I do? And again, going back to my point about asking for help, your teachers are a great place to start with asking for help and saying, hey, I'm really interested in this. Can I learn more? Can I do something? And your teachers are wealths of knowledge generally, right? They're also really passionate about the topic oftentimes, and they can give you a lot of help, and kind of all of these 4 different principles can help you get there in terms of your school system.
And you mentioned passion. Is passion one of the most important things when picking a project to focus on?
I think so. Passion has always been really important to me, and I think it's really important, especially for young people, because that's what you bring to the table, right? You bring, energy, enthusiasm, and most of all, passion for changing the world, because young people believe that the world can be changed. And I think that's another really big plus point young people have when they're looking at making a difference, is that passion, that belief that things can and will change if you work hard enough.
Yes. Well, do you have any questions for us?
Nothing really. Just, I hope if any kids are listening to this, any young people are listening to this, take that first step, take that 1 minute. If nothing else, if this gets you to do nothing else, just start. Anything you're passionate about, start working on it. Make a plan, reach out to people for help. And, I wish everyone all the best and all these projects that they hopefully start.
Thank you. And how can, let's say kids watching this, or a teen or young adult or an adult is watching this and they want to get involved with you and what you're doing, how can we get involved with your organizations?
Yeah. If you're interested in medical technology, you can go to gettogreater.com and reach out to me or to our organization through there. For anything else, I've told everyone to ask for help. So obviously I'm also a great resource to ask. My email address is pretty readily available on the internet, I think. And if not, I can provide it here. I'm not sure exactly how to do that, but definitely reach out to me. I would love to talk to anyone, especially to young people, about making a change and provide whatever help I possibly can.
Thank you. And we'll be sure to provide the email in the detail for this video. And also, I found your email address online. It was easy, and that's how I reached out to you. And it was a cold email, and you responded. So thank you for that. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, I think you guys have a great mission, and I'm really glad that you're inspiring young people to do great things.
Yeah, and we share that in common. We both want and see how great the children, the teens, the young adults are doing and creating movements and creating change and not going with the status quo or the norms that they've been born with. They're really shaking it up right now. And I am so inspired by that. And I'm so inspired by you. So thank you. And thank you for inspiring other kids, young adults, teens to create a positive impact in the world and create change.
And thank you so much. I want to do whatever I can to help out the community and help out other young people. And, I think you guys are doing a great job at that as well.
Thank you. Well, that's all the time we have for today. Thanks for stopping by, and be sure to check out his TED Talk, which is fantastic. And we also shared it in the comments, so be sure to watch it. And remember, stay Yogiful. Namaste, namaste, namaste. Bye-bye.
Hello kids, get your yoga on. Join with me, it'll be real fun. Standing straight, your head held high, your hands spraying. Now close your eyes and wiggle like a worm, wiggle like a worm.